Guys, I got a question. Both on the same topic. You're in an interview, and the board asks you, what do you need to make? And the other question is, what do you currently make? How do you answer both those questions?
Oh, can I answer this?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I went to Marion, there was a rumor on the street that I wanted to make megabucks. And it was really because I had turned down a monumental offer at Wingfoot, and not because I didn't think the salary was flattering, but I couldn't envision myself working in that environment with all that traffic, and so I just turned it down. And most people thought the perception in the industry was, well, the salary was too small, so he turned it down. You know, why wouldn't you want to work at Wingfoot? There's a multitude of reasons, but we won't go into that. So, it's amazing, the dynamics of an interview. I like interviews, and it's the ultimate game of life. But it's exciting, and so anyways, we were in the interview process, and this was like, without a doubt, the biggest interview in my life. And if you applied to Marion, you didn't get invited. You had to be invited to Marion. So you had to figure out how to get yourself invited. Well, I had a pretty good invitation. I called Augusta National, and I got an invitation. So, but anyways, we were really rolling. Everything was going good, and then all of a sudden they said, we're going to take a break. And I thought, what? You know, I was like really taken out of my game plan, which was part of the process. And so everybody leaves, and then Mr. Reed, who was conducting the interview, who, by way of reference, was the personnel director for Wachovia Banks. So he said, Mr. Schaefer, I'd like to talk to you. So I tried to stay where I was at, because I took a class when I was in Hershey about biodynamics. I know all about how rooms are set up. And if they understand how rooms are set up, then you know who the power people are right away in the interview. But anyways, he said, no, I want you in front of me. So then, this was interesting. So he said, I need to know how much money you want to make. And I said, I need to know, are you offering me the job? And he says, no, I'm not offering you the job. I said, I'm not interested in talking in salary. And he said, if you offer me I said, the proper time to talk about my salary is when you make me an offer. He said, you don't dictate to me how the interview process goes. He said, you tell me how much you want to make right now, or the interview's over. So I took my high number, made it my low number, and then I gave him $30,000 wiggle room. They didn't call me for 8 weeks, and I thought I cleared the deal. But you know, you need to tactfully. Actually, if you're really lucky, you'll get to be in a search with Bruce, and then he can, and that's another thing. I got to tell you something. A lot of times when you get a job, you don't get what you want. All right? So don't turn it down. I got to tell you, the last 4 guys that I've placed got lowballed. And twice we used the green chairman, and twice we used the general manager to figure out the right strategy to ask the question. Not me. But if you have, like, Bruce or Tim Morgan or Darren, or somebody like that, Darren can tell you, he'll help you. Like, if he doesn't like to do that, but if you call him and say, I was offered the job at X and they offered me Y, do you think that's a lowball offer, or do you think there's tremendous potential for growth? You can ask the question so you don't put him in a precarious situation.
So the other thing I will, don't ever during your interview ask how much the job pays. When I was going through the hiring process for the agronomist, there was one candidate that asked that question during the interview, even though he had a salary range and everything. You know, well, what's that going to be, or whatever. That to me was a red flag. It's like, well, you're not worried about being a USJ agronomist. You're worried about how much you're getting paid. Get the job first, like Matt said. When you get the job offer, then start negotiating salary. But you're not in a very strong position to negotiate when you haven't been offered the job yet. So.
You know, it was said earlier about thinking outside of the box. Well, something I learned early on is I have no box. So when I'm negotiating and when I'm trying to analyze things, when I go to LA Country Club, Jim Brewer said, we went through all the steps with the interview and everything else, and he says, what will it get to take you to come here? So that's how much money. And so I'm one that, if you can, avoid giving an exact number, because you might leave a lot of money on the table, and once you're locked in, you're locked in. So my response to that was, we have to make this the best job in the country for me to come here. And he said, well, we're willing to do that. So there's this cat and mouse game going back and forth with no numbers. So in essence, I conditionally accept the job, and I have an idea of what it's. This was 1996, and I said 200,000, and I based that on my counterpart, Paul Atshaw. We were both at that point going to make 200,000. I said, that's fair. I think I'm in the same school of knowledge as what he is. Maybe I was a little bit setting my sights too high. Well, then the club announced in their newsletter that I was going to be their next director of golf courses and grounds. I haven't got a number set yet. Who's got the advantage now? Me. So, $200,000. Well, what do you base that on? How much you make now and this and that. Says that's totally irrelevant. Now I've got a little bit more of a power seat because I'm their guy. And if there's one thing clubs don't like, it's to be embarrassed. And they don't want a back out and have to explain what happened and everything. So the reality was, I said, it's up to you as a club to give me the appropriate level of responsibility to qualify why you would have to pay that much money. So I took on extra departments and extra responsibilities. The day I get there, I got a bulldozer being dropped off on the party for a several $1,000,000 renovation that's taking place. So that's a part of the project management and such. When I hire superintendents in as a headhunter, good news for you guys, if you're ever in that boat, is I negotiate for you. So I work for the club, and I try and find what's fair for you in the club. So I have to find out what the cost of living is in the area, what it costs to get a 3-bedroom house to rent or to buy. I have to find out what superintendents are making in the area, in the marketplace, all of those different things. Sure, it might come in if you're an assistant making $40,000 and the job's listed at $60,000 to $100,000. You might not make the $100,000, but I would also try to set it up, and I've been very successful in this. I'll use a different example. I hired a guy in at Hillcrest Country Club. The going rate at the time, this was out in LA, was $150,000. Club wanted to pay him $120,000. So I said, okay, if you want to pay him $120,000, I guess I'm okay with that. But you'll give him a $20,000 signing bonus, and you'll tell me that he's going to get up to a $10,000 bonus at the end of the year if he meets all the criteria that you have. 150 is 150. I don't care how you get there. You can't negotiate that for yourself. I can't. And actually, I work with clubs and I work with superintendents to negotiate their packages. I work with severance packages to negotiate that thing. I teach a seminar on negotiation. So that's how I look at it. If you take a job at, say, 120, it's a 150 job, and that fellow at Hillcrest got a $10,000 raise the next year, and a 10 the next year, and a 10 the next year, that was pre-established. He could make up to that amount of money in those years, and he hit all the numbers, and he made that amount. Now, when you're getting no raises and when you're getting 3% cost of living increases, he never would have gone from 120 to 150, to 160 actually. So that being said, think long-term, think visionary. If I get my foot in the door and they were paying the guy that was here $100,000 and the course is in shitty shape, the reality is they're going to love me and they're going to be happy to pay me $100,000. Just how do I get from point A to point B?